What can be done to stop the next one? After the deadly shooting in Parkland, it's the question being asked in Florida, in Washington, D.C., and in your town.
At this point, we've heard from the politicians, the pundits, the professional lobbyists. We're now listening to you, your neighbors' kids, your kid's teacher. We're going to have an open and honest discussion about what can be done right here in Maine. It's
not an easy conversation, and there are no easy solutions. But it is time to talk. We're live at the WMTW studio in Westbrook, and this is Rise Up Against School Violence.
This is a special presentation from Maine's Total Weather, news, coverage. Rise Up Against School Violence.
Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Megan Torgeson.
And I'm Steve Botari, and we're joined today with our cross-section of participants here. We have teachers and parents and students and faculty as well from schools across the state joining us in this discussion.
And our conversation is happening just hours after a national walkout, students walking out of high schools and schools across the country. And we think that that's a good place to begin our conversation this evening. After the Parkland shooting, it seemed as though this national walkout movement sort of galvanized. And I want to ask, especially the students, what was it like watching that on TV? And, has it politically motivated you? Have you become more politically aware? Hunter, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I know Lewiston wasn't able to participate in the walkout today because of the snow, but certainly seeing the things that happen at Parkland on TV, I know that kind of lit a fire under the students to kind of start defending themselves in schools. Seeing social media videos and just things on news, watching the live stream of Parkland and seeing the horrifying things that took place that day, I know it affected me a certain way to kind of start looking into it more, and I know a lot of students, teachers, and faculty have been looking into it more to make their school safer and how we can kind of stop this thing from happening around the country.
Personally, I think that watching the students who were affected in the Parkland shooting stand up, I think that was the most influential to me, just seeing how strong of a voice these students have, and it was encouraging. As a student, I know that I can have that voice too, and seeing how influential they've been is really important and really great to see.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with that. It was kind of sad today Lewiston wasn't able to participate in it because of the snow day, but a lot of kids came up after and were saying, is this going to be postponed? Are we going to do this again? We have to. And seeing it, I was, of course, we have to continue this. Seeing the passion in all these kids, how much they care about themselves, about their community, about everybody else, tragic events that happen. I just think overall it's a really cool thing to see how much students really care and take advantage of everything that they get.
Yeah, I agree. And also it's as well as it's bringing people together, it's also really showing a divide in people, which it's kind of upsetting, because I think that it's hard to disagree that I think we all want to be safe in our schools because it's a place of learning, and yeah.
But how we get there, how we all get there, people may have different answers about that.
Yeah.
How many of you have questions about safety at school? Do you feel safe at school?
I personally, seeing students who I can identify with and seeing especially the Parkland incident, how they've been affected, it's really brought it really close to home. And I was talking with students right after the first week after, and we were all scared that every time the intercom would go off, we were oh no, is this a fire drill? That's there's a shooter in the school. So it's just really become really close to home, and it's very scary being in schools.
It's scary being in schools?
Yeah, because so many school shootings have happened, and so they're not, you can kind of anticipate them, but there's also an element of surprise. So it could happen in our own schools. So.
Off of what Sadie said about hearing the announcement go off, I can speak for my kids at my school hearing them the day after, the 2 days after. I remember every time the announcement went on, everybody was literally, when people were looking around, is this it? People don't know when it's going to happen, because sadly it's a reality and it could happen.
And what does that do for you in terms of your learning? Are you distracted during the day? Can you not focus? I mean, how are you able to learn in that environment?
Personally, I don't really feel it as a day-to-day fear, but what I think is concerning is that it's a fear that all of the students now have in the back of our minds, and that's not something that we should have to deal with. I think it's especially after hearing that there were threats in Maine, and especially like threats just like near where we live, I think I never really realized how possible it was where I am, and now knowing how many times it's happened, it's really concerning. And I think that I've definitely had times in schools where I think, would this be a safe room to be in? What room do I want to be in? And I think that is really concerning, and that's not something that any student should have to think about ever.
Yeah, parents and teachers, I want to get you in on this conversation as well. When you saw students in the schools that did this today walking out of classrooms to send this message, what's going through your head? And when you hear right now that they say that at times they feel unsafe in their school, what's going through your head? I want to hear from some of the parents and teachers here.
So I teach at a high school, and I would say that when I see students working together and trying to be active in their communities, active politically, I'm just amazed at what they're telling us as adults. For me as a teacher, I think that my idea of feeling safe within the school is different than what it might feel like for a student. I also was a student at a really different time when we had very different security measures or a lack of security measures in schools. So I see the difference of ways that we're keeping kids safe through the policies and procedures that we have, through the ways that we as teachers know what we're going to do if anything were to happen and if a variety of types of circumstances happen. But I also see kids who need their voices to be heard. They're telling us as adults something. And I think too often when kids try to be active, they are condescended to and they're given a pat in the head and said, isn't it sweet that you want to speak out? And I don't think that that should be the case right now. We have students in high schools who are going to be voting in this next election, or if not, probably 75% of them will be voting in the 2020 election, and we need to listen to these students now so that their voice can be heard now, and they can continue to be active as they become adults.
I think we could all learn from the students and their work that we've seen them do over the last few months and weeks. They have been condescended to, they have been dismissed, and they haven't stopped. They have been so brave, and they have actually affected policy in Florida. They did not give up, and they made their voices heard. I think it's just incredibly effective, and I think we could all learn from them about how to really take an issue that we all care about and really make actual change.
Thank you. While I respect the kids' First Amendment rights and appreciate their opinions, what was really upsetting to me were the number of schools that were willing to allow the kids to go outside of the buildings. I felt like that puts kids at risk when you have a national movement at the same time across the country. I was really appreciative of my school district that allowed the kids to have that moment and speak, but it was going to be within the building. So I didn't agree with them going outside nationally across the country.
I think the power of this issue is the student voice. And I know that the Seeds of Peace camp in Otis Field was started on the premises that adults weren't able to figure out how to create peace in the Middle East, and it was time to go to someone else. And the people who could really change it would be the young people. So that is the power of this. I know in our district, some of our students took action on another issue and actually implemented a huge policy change. So hopefully that the students, this is just a step towards them really going through a democratic process and following it all through to create some policy, because they can do that. We've seen it happen, and that would be the power of this. This is hopefully is not a single event. It's just a step towards a whole process.
I do respect your concern for students being outside of the school, but I think it's a little bit ironic that we are worried about students gathering outside of the school when students are just as gathered inside, and we're scared inside. There's not going to be any change if we aren't allowed to make these movements and to go outside and to speak up. We need to be seen and we need to be heard, and I think that students feel scared, and whether our teachers and our and the adults are worried about us. I respect that worry and I respect that, but I think that we need to just continue this movement, whether it's whatever kind of movement that it is.
Again, I have to agree with what you're saying. The idea of walking outside, it sends a message to everybody else. Like, it gets people more concerned. It gets people more talking of why. No, don't do that. Again, it stirs it up, and that's kind of the point. We want people to understand this is not a joke. Like, we need to be heard. This is serious. Changes need to happen. And then we don't feel safe in school. What's the difference if we're outside? It's a very valid concern that students have all around.
All right, guys, we're going to pause it right here real quick. This is the jumping off point of this conversation. I know there are a lot of heavy topics we want to talk about today. Up next, I know some of the things we want to talk about, assault rifles, what to do about those, if there's something to do about those, and also mental health. What role does that play when it comes to school safety? Those topics are up right after this. We're going to be back right after this break.